Thank you for giving me your time today to share smartcrowds' point of view in relation to ideation and innovation. We're a 10-year-old company with a pedigree of building innovative software solutions for a variety of different sectors and have had innovation at the core of our business from the very beginning. I'd like to share by spending some time just sharing some statistics. 90% of innovation programs and ideas fail. In a recent Harvard Business Review report following a survey of 164 executives at companies with turnovers in excess of $1 billion, 41% said that the handover from idea to business unit execution was either terrible or a complete failure. But interestingly, at the same time, 58% of CEOs want to spend more money in the whole area of innovation. They realize that it's one of the most reliable and attractive routes to competitive differentiation. Finally, PwC have indicated that of companies that actually do plan to implement innovation strategies. In fact, a study that PwC did of 1,200 executives leading innovation indicate that they would expect at least a 15% growth on the bottom line. So one thing is pretty clear. Ideation and innovation can really help the bottom line. CEOs want to spend more money on it, yet there appears to be a kind of gap that's growing in terms of the real ideas coming out and that 15% growth actually taking place. And on the one hand, what we have seen at smartcrowds is an ever-growing list of challenges. And I'll come back to those in a moment. But on the other hand, what we're seeing is a kind of decline in participation or engagement. Sometimes we refer to the staff engagement levels. So let's just talk about that in a little bit more detail. Almost every company that we speak to recognizes that there's this kind of problem down here, thinking that ideas actually only come from the senior management team, whereas in actual fact, what we're trying to do and we're actually promoting is the access to the entire talent pool, and in doing so, actually really addressing these challenges, which I now want to talk to you about. So the first thing that we see is a problem in actually getting ideas in the first place. So how do we actually make sure that instead of just getting one idea from the senior management team, we're actually getting 3, 4, 5, 6 different things that can actually make a difference to the business, either improved efficiency, lowering costs, increasing profits, improving staff participation and satisfaction, etc., etc. Secondly, we're seeing the issue of actually understanding whether or not the ideas that we're gathering are actually meeting the business need. What I might believe to be a great idea for improving service delivery might not be the best in terms of meeting identified customer measures or performance indicators. Next, we want to try and work out whether or not these ideas that we've gathered, if there are any, are the winning ones, the ideas that are actually going to contribute to that 15% growth. I've seen in many companies ideas that are only fully or partially implemented, and even sometimes the best ideas are the ones that are still kind of locked away and we never actually to see the outcome of them because there's no accurate form of measure. And finally, we want to make sure that we don't make the same mistake twice. So what we want to have is visibility at all times in terms of actually keeping information in a central repository so that we can understand and learn from the good and the bad and make sure we don't repeat the same mistakes. So in summary, our findings and those of the independent companies that we have spoken to suggest that of all programs, 3 out of 5 ideas actually fail to deliver, or the innovation program fails to deliver itself. We also see that there's 3 times slower growth is experienced by companies trying to solve problems that don't actually exist. And 70% of organizations are actually repeatedly addressing the same mistakes over and over again. Now, what we do here at smartcrowds, we're often referring to this as the ideation frustration or ideation gap. And our intent is to try and close that. And so, as I said, here at smartcrowds, we've been working for the last 3 years addressing problems inside our own business that have resulted in this platform. And what we found is that ultimately what we wanted to do was to provide a solution that allowed you to actually make sure that you had a single place to store all of these ideas in one place, so that you could actually bring in participation from staff and from partners and suppliers, and store them in a single place that was accessible via a tablet or a phone or a traditional computer. And also, what happens if we could actually provide a place where we could actually have collaboration taking place and actually have a mechanism for multiple stakeholders to hone those best ideas by providing a suite of validation tools and metrics that allow you to fail fast and at minimal cost, allowing you to move on to the best ideas. We also think of the need to actually be able to measure at all points, and we've provided these tools in the smartcrowds platform to actually allow you and give you visibility across programs and projects and ideas that are actually implemented. So, providing a suite of management tools that allow progress to be tracked and outcomes to be measured. And finally, we want to be able to address this issue of continuous learning, so that we don't end up in a situation where we're repeating the same mistake twice. And ultimately, as I've said, our intent is actually to close this ideation gap. To take away, there's always going to be a bit of a challenge. We're not going to suggest for a minute that there won't be, but if we could remove some of this participation and engagement gap, and actually get rid of the issue of slow times growth, and get rid of the issue of 3 times out of 5 failing, and ultimately remove the issue of 70% of ideas repeating the same mistakes. And in the process, we want to increase productivity and staff participation, deliver better bottom line results, and implement truly transformational ideas, not just from the SMT, but from across the entire talent pool. So thank you for listening. I'd like to now spend some time just understanding where you are in trying to improve your innovation inside your company.